All right, and we are back for another week of Bull Spit. This is the show where we talk that Bull Spit. I am one of your hosts. I'm Emilio Bucks, and as usual, joined by my co-host.
Kristen Petite.
What's going on, Kristen?
Not much. Glad it's Friday Eve.
Absolutely. Good Friday evening, as a matter of fact.
Yes. Not much going on. I got my Cubs gear, my Cubs earrings. I'm pretty sure you gave me these for Christmas or something.
All right, that's probably true. I see uh, a tough break really quick to about that injury to Smiley. That's no good, but we'll talk a
Yeah.
little bit more about that and
All
how
right.
that may affect things.
Mhm.
But all is well. I feel a little disheveled every time I start the show. I'm just come from dealing with the kids, and so
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm
you're
always like got a little sweat on me when we start because they are animals. I tell you. But so yeah, we got a special guest joining us this week. Kristen, why don't you let everybody know who's in the building?
All right. Bull Spitters. Tonight joining us is Drew Stevens. Drew Stevens, he's a Chicago native and he covers the Bulls for the Bigs. The Bigs, they're a black owned and independent media outlet and they cover all the professional teams in Chicago. So make sure you're following Drew Stevens and the Bigs for all your sports coverage in the town. Drew has also been a contributor to War Media and On Tap Sports. So you can catch Drew asking insightful questions. I've heard his voice several times when they're showing clips of the team in the locker room asking questions. So you can catch Drew in the locker room after the game. So Bull Spitters, let's welcome Drew Stevens to the show tonight.
All
All
right, what's going on, man? I don't have my sound effects handy tonight. The
Yeah,
applause.
we'll just give
right. Hey
you
man, that's natural, very organic.
There
I
you
love
go.
it.
There we go.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Glad to be here with you guys.
Keep it real, real.
All the way real. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, man, good to see you. Glad to have you on, man. Appreciate your time.
No problem at all, man. Glad to be here.
So, Drew,
Absolutely.
tell us a little bit about you before we get into the Bulls, and tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into covering basketball?
I try to make this as short and sweet as it can be or as possible. But I played basketball ever since I was a little boy, fell in love with the game, had dreams of being in the NBA one day, have the height for it, but not quite professional talent. So ended up going to SIU, got a degree in journalism, thought that was going to be my path for sure. Graduated, like I said, ended up switching professions. I got into physical therapy. And during the pandemic, I started writing again. That's around the time when The Last Dance came out, and you know, I just kind of got inspired to get my thoughts out on paper again. And one of my former classmates, who was also working at the Daily Egyptian with me, a student-run newspaper in Carbondale, he hit me up and was like, "Man, it sounds like you kind of want to get back into this." And he let me do some things with him. That's how I linked up with War Media. And from there, it went to On Tap Sportsnet, where I was kind of helping them cover the Bulls a little bit. And then from there, it just kind of snowballed into being able to do this for the bigs and actually being able to be in the stadium and around the team. And as you said, doing my best to ask the questions that I want to know answers to. And I think, fans want to know the answers to as well. So it's just been a blessing and kind of like a whirlwind. Like I said, it's kind of like one door open led to another door and another door. And as I've gotten older, I see that's just kind of how life is. If you continue to put yourself in a position to, you know, take advantage of opportunities, or you put yourself out there, you never know where this thing is going to go and where life is going to take you. So, I mean, I can speak from experience when I say that that's definitely true. And if anybody's watching, listening, who needs some inspiration and is feeling like they may be stuck, or, they're kind of stuck in their head about an opportunity that they want to go after, I'm telling you, man, do it, because you don't know where it's going to lead to.
Man, I'm listening to you right now because I got some stuff that's on my mind that you've just given me. You just dropped some dimes on me. I'm like, man, his brother's right. You know, man, you are inspiring me right now, man, for real. Real talk, man. Yeah.
Hey, man, iron sharpens iron, man.
That man, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. That's a great story, and thank you. Do you guys? I know at one point with the Bigs, they were like doing some like community work, going out and speaking to people. Do you ever like go to career days and things like that to speak to the young people about like your journey and some who may have a similar journey?
So I haven't gotten that opportunity just yet. I think that's something that I would enjoy doing.
Yeah, don't worry. Next year I'll be contacting you because I'm involved in student career days. So don't you worry.
Okay. I can promise you in the moment leading up to it, I'm probably gonna be very anxious, clammy, all of that other stuff. But once I kind of get going, I think I kind of get into some sort of a groove. But no, I haven't done any of that yet. I think the two gentlemen who founded the Bigs, Terrence Tomlin and Eugene McIntosh, they have been the ones that kind of have done that in that respect of kind of trying to mentor kids or just be an inspiration to anybody who has, you know, the notion of getting into this field.
Yeah. Don't worry, we'll get you involved too.
Don't worry, it's gonna be your turn.
All right, so let's talk about these Bulls.
Yes.
From losing to the Wizards, well, blowing them out, then losing to them, and then they beat the Pacers like they should be the Pacers. Yeah. They beat them as if they're the up and coming, the team that will be fighting for something. So you've been around them all year. Give us your thoughts.
So it's an interesting like dichotomy because a lot of these guys, all of these guys, to me are very easy to root for. You want to see them succeed.
It's a likable team.
It's a likable team. You know, they got the personalities. You know, you want to ride and die with these guys outside looking in, and I think there is something to be said for how they've played in spite of season-ending injuries to Zach LaVine and Patrick Williams and Torrey Craig being in and out of the lineup, and the depth of this team not really being there, and most recently them having to lean on guys like OB, you know, Omerlap Bitsum, and, you know, before he got hurt, Julian Phillips, Dalen Terry. There's something to be said about them being in the position that they're in. I know, you know, being in the ninth place is nothing to write home about, but they actually have the same record through 73 games this season that they had last season. And again, considering what they've been through, I think you have to give them some credit. You have to give Billy Donovan some credit. But again, I don't know where this is all kind of going. I don't know the bigger picture that the front office sees with this team. Even with Kobe White having most improved player type of season, Al DeSumo improving, DeMar DeRozan doing what he does in the clutch, they're still in ninth place. They can't ever seem to get to 500, let alone above 500. And I think a lot of us on the beat have already started to kind of formulate what the front office, namely AK, is going to say at the end of the season presser. Like it can almost write itself at this point. Like he has so much fuel to just go with his own argument of why he continues to keep this team together. And we've seen he doesn't really need much evidence. Like, I mean, he had the 14-9 finish after the All-Star break last season. And, you know, I'm sure he's going to bring up how they're doing this season, obviously with the injuries, and how guys have played in spite of those injuries, how he's going to want to have DeMar DeRozan back in the fold. And, you know, it just, again, I don't know where this is all going. I don't think, at least in terms of how he presents himself in front of us, in front of the media, in front of the fans, he doesn't seem to have much of a long-term view. Like, he's very much kind of game, week to week, month to month. And I feel like in his position, he needs to be way more forward-thinking with where he wants this thing to go. Like, it's cool for Billy and the players to take it game by game. That's kind of their responsibility. But I think he needs to be in a position where he has a broader view of this thing. And he just, to me, has not shown that, especially the last couple seasons.
Do you think there is anybody, a non-player, whose job is in jeopardy in any way?
Not that I'm hearing, not the reports that, you know, the big guns like KC Johnson and Joe Cali, not that they've written or talked about. They seem to be, you know, pretty locked into their positions. Whenever it's brought up,
safe, Billy safe.
Yeah. At least for now. Like, the thing is that we're hearing that, you know, the ownership is putting this in the front office's hands and wanting them to figure it out. And anytime, you know, somebody brings this point up to Casey Johnson, he's always talking about how if you look at past front offices, they've always been kind of entrenched in there for years. So I don't think, you know, anything's going to change as of right now. Like, I fully expect Billy to be there next season. AK and Mark Eversley, I don't think are going anywhere. Although Mark Eversley, I think, was one of the top candidates to take over in Charlotte. Obviously, he didn't end up getting that job, but for now, this is the crew we got, man.
Like it or lump it.
It's weird. It's weird to me, the improvement of Kobe. Okay, so you see, like, Kobe's good now. Alex got better with his shooting. Like, all these players have gotten better, and the fact that they still can't get out the night. So, what makes anyone think? Let's say they are the same, because I don't know if they'll get better than they are this year. But let's say they're the same next year. Well, what says it's better than 9th seed next year? Like, what could be added? Because they've made so many they've improved so greatly. Most improved for Kobe. Like, who thought he was ever going to shoot threes like this? Not me, because I wondered why he got 3 years personally. But now, okay, I was wrong. And you know, Alex shooting the three like he's never had. Vooch has gotten better with the three, but Vooch and DeMar are going to be who they are regardless. So we're not even going to consider them. They are who they are. But you know, we got to see Andre doing better, like all these people doing better, and it's still the 9th seed. So next year, still 9th seed. Like I don't see what's going to be better.
I think there's a perfect time to look at this comment by Cricket Commish. Is L Ball really the difference? Will he be back next year? Will he be the one to put this team over?
So he's gonna try. He's gonna try to play. You know, he's got $20-some odd million on the table in the form of a player option. So no, he's not passing that up. It would take for the front office to deem him medically unable to play for that to get scratched from the books. And I just don't see that happen in the way that he's, you know, been able to rehab coming off of this most recent surgery. Everything points to him at some point next season trying to play. Now, I don't know when that's going to happen. A lot has to happen before we can even start to dream about him being on the court again.
Oh my God.
And not only that, this is not going to be, you know, all bets are off on this being the same Lonzo Ball that we saw before he got hurt. You know, obviously this guy has not played in over what would it be, 2.5 years, 3 years, maybe by the time he actually sets foot back on the court next season. So we got to kind of treat him with kid gloves, I think, despite our overall expectations or our own, you know, wants and desires for this team. You can't expect him to come back and be the same Lonzo Ball that he was and to make the same impact or difference that he did when he was healthy. It's just, I don't think that's reasonable, to put that on him. Again, I'm with you, Kristen. Like, what can be added to this team that's going to make it better than a ninth seed? That's the question we've kind of been asking this front office for the last couple seasons. And, they seem to be dead set on keeping this thing together and as competitive as it can be. I want to ask AK personally, like, who is it that he wants to be competitive against? Because a lot of these wins are coming against teams that are in their wheelhouse, or worse. They have not done well against teams that are 500 or better this season, despite the win last night against Indiana. So I don't know, man. It's just, he seems to be very content with what this team is right now. And I'm like you. We're like you guys. Like, we don't know what it is he sees in this team in terms of it aspiring to be greater than just some teams' first round punching bag.
They didn't go after, and I don't know all the insides of it, but when Drew Holiday was out there, okay, Lonzo Ball was the glue that held all this together. Okay, you didn't go find maybe another Lonzo Ballish type and a Drew Holiday. Maybe he could have been the newest glue. I felt that it seemed like they never, like, they were like, oh, it's Lonzo, but then they never got anyone Lonzo-like. Lonzo Light, half a Lonzo. Like, they never went and got anything.
Well, and I think that speaks to Lonzo Ball. Like, he's a very unique player. I will say, I think last season in the buyout market, going out and getting Patrick Beverley, that was kind of Lonzo Ball, like, just in terms of the defense that he could play, the leadership. He's a guy that's going to move the ball. Obviously, he's not shooting a three at the same type of clip that Lonzo is. He's not pushing the pace the same kind of way. He's not the athlete that Lonzo is. So it's hard to find a guy that could replicate everything that Lonzo was doing in those 35 games before he got hurt. I mean, he was playing out of this world, and the way he was shooting the ball was just, like 42% on 7 attempts. That was, oh my God, like, that dude he might have been a most improved player candidate, That's not something that can be replaced easily. And the elephant in the room, when you speak about, a possibility of them maybe doing something with Drew Holiday, is the luxury tax. We know how that plays a part in what this organization or what this front office is going to do to kind of restructure this roster. That plays a big factor in the moves that they would even think about making. I don't ever think Drew Holiday was even on the table. They tried to do some patchwork with Torrey Craig and Javon Carter this past season. And man, I thought, I was one of those people that thought Javon Carter was going to be starting and getting way more time than he's getting this season. So goes to show you, man, like, you just never can predict these things. It's crazy how many DNPs he's gotten this year, considering what I thought it would be for him. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's been kind of a wild season. It's a wild season, to say the least.
I remember at the beginning of the year when Kobe was struggling, I was like, where's Javon Carter? He should be starting over Kobe. And then I was one of the ones like Bitim. I was like, where is he? If he can shoot the three, why is he out here? And I'm like, okay, sorry, Billy. You were right. Now the Bitim we're seeing now, I was like, oh, that's why he didn't come in. Okay, I'll give you that one, Billy. That's why the only one out there. But I was not expecting Javon Carter to not play, ever, when sometimes they just needed a shot. At least he was going to take it.
I think the emergence of Io kind of he took a lot of the clock away from Javon.
True.
I think a lot of those minutes that Io has eaten up, rightfully so, deservedly, would have been Javon's minutes, but it was up for grabs, and Io came and took it. Like, with that being said, Drew, what do you think is the What's the biggest surprise of the season, good or bad?
I think the biggest surprise for me is Kobe White, and it's the reason why I think he should be at the forefront of these most improved player conversations. Like, I know it seems like Tyrese Maxey has it in the bag, but who would have expected a fifth-year player who was looked at as a microwave scorer, hot and cold shooter,
Who they were trying to actively get rid of last year.
actively trying to get rid of. And I think there was some merit to that, given the way he was playing toward the end of the season before.
I wanted him out. I wanted him gone.
I was fine.
Exactly. The way he was shooting the ball against Milwaukee, had it not been, I want to say, Caruso got hurt, thinking, and Zach LaVine, did he get hurt too, or got sick? Something happened, and it kind of forced Billy to put him back in those games in that series against Milwaukee. But had that not happened, who knows if we see Kobe White again?
Right.
And because of that, this guy making the type of leaps and bounds that he's made as a playmaker, as a decision maker, a scorer, a defender. He's not, when I say defender, he's not a lockdown guy. He kind of can cost this team a little bit in terms of being picked on, and that forcing his teammates to have to rotate properly around him. But it's never a lack of effort with him. Like, he's going to put his body out there. He's going to do his best. Like, he's not loafing. You know what I mean? And that's
right.
I think some of the criticism that's gone his teammates' way in Zach LaVine is that sometimes he doesn't give that same effort on the defensive end. But Kobe White, most nights is out there putting it on the line on both sides of the ball, which I think adds to why he's so easy to root for. Again, who could have seen this coming? And I don't think that anybody who watches this game can say the same for Tyrese Maxey or anybody else who's in this most improved player running with Kobe White. I think he's had the biggest kind of like, well, damn, where did that come from season out of everybody?
Because Tyrese Maxey, you saw it already. You saw that he was going to do.
It's not to take anything away from him, but it's just, who predicted this from Kobe,
No.
Other than Kobe himself, probably. And his trainer dribbled too much.
What? Okay, so you're around the team and you're around a lot of people, so you know the pulse. And you mentioned Zach. And what has, you hear that all his teammates love him. He seems to be a nice guy. What has caused such a backlash or such a get rid of him? I'm glad he's going to go. Yeah, we're better off without him. What do you think has caused that type of vitriol? Sometimes it is he did some of these fans wrong. He got with their girlfriends, or he did something personal. Like, what do you think?
They're turning on the light skins these days. I'm telling you.
I think it's the record, it's the teams he's been a part of. It's the lack of playoff appearances and results in playoff success. It's the amount of money that he got, I'm sure, which, anybody who was in that position, nobody's turning that down. You know what I'm saying? I think he showed enough of himself that he was worth a max contract. Whether or not the Bulls should have gave it to him, that's another discussion. But at that point in time, I was one of those people in that camp, like, nah, you can't let this guy walk, because I thought that there was going to be maybe another progression that he could have made. But I think, sometimes with athletes, if you're a professional athlete in any sport, I think there's a level of confidence that you just automatically have. To get to that level, you have to have a certain belief in yourself. And I think with some athletes, we're seeing it a little bit with Caleb Williams, who for all intents and purposes is going to be our next quarterback here in Chicago. But I think with certain athletes, if you're a little too confident and it's not being matched with results on the court or on the field, that's when kind of start getting that side eye or, smacking
people the wrong way.
Yeah, it can rub people the wrong way. And to his own fault, he for whatever reason, those first 19 games of the season, he was not playing well. He wasn't playing like himself. He just didn't look to be in the mix too much. Obviously, the story comes out that his representatives and him are willing to leave town and get to a different situation, so that didn't help matters. We know Zach is very competitive, and for a lot of years, he talked about wanting to get into the playoffs and experience playoff basketball, be able to be in a position to lead the Bulls to somewhere other than just,
the crib,
the bottom of the barrel or the crib. Right. So we know that he's a competitive guy, and going through, the last season and a half, 2 seasons without Lonzo Ball and what this thing has become, I'm sure it has not been easy for him. I think when he did come back initially, before he went out and ended up getting ruled out for the season, I think he played a little bit more like himself. He seemed to be hell-bent on getting his teammates involved almost to a fault. But, yeah, man, this is a combination of factors, some of which were in his control. Some of them just were not in his control. Mm-hmm. Health, yeah, some of that. See, before this season, I would have said that some of that is overblown, because this guy was playing, damn near every night, man. The season that we got Lonzo Ball, the Bulls got Lonzo Ball, he was playing with all sorts of injuries and working his way through it and still putting up efficient numbers and scoring the basketball for this team. So I think before this season, that was an easy out, kind of the low-hanging fruit of the argument. Now it's kind of like coming home to roost. It's just a terrible situation this season. Like, all the things that people criticize him for just happened this season. It's almost like somebody's got a voodoo doll and they're just poking it. And this is the season that it all kind of blew up for him, between the injuries, the kind of empty calorie scoring he's been accused of. We saw the 50-point game he had, what was that, second or third game of the season in Detroit, and they wound up losing that game. So just a lot of combination of factors.
Do you see any way that he comes back, or do you think they trade him before the season?
I think he comes back, because if there weren't any teams really willing to pony up anything for him when he looked like he was healthy, I don't think anybody's going to be willing to do that now that he's coming off this latest injury and the season that he's had, what did have before he got hurt. I think people are going to want to see, okay, Zach, I need to see more from you. I need to make sure that you can get back to being that elite level scorer that you were. I need to see that athleticism. I need to see if you can be a smarter decision maker with the ball. So I would bet that he's in uniform next season for sure. At least.
Otherwise, they're going to get pennies on the dollar for him in the current condition,
Yeah, exactly.
You're the GM. You see, I'm going to make you the GM, Drew. You see what you see. You know what you see. What moves are you making next year to be more than competitive? Can we get second round playoffs?
I don't think that's going to be possible. So if you're making changes, I don't think so. That's the thing. If you're making changes to this team, it's not to make it better now. It's to get out of this cycle of just mediocre basketball, meaning that you have to take a step or two back in order to push forward after the fact. So I don't think there's any moves they can make that's going to push them well beyond the 9th seed.
So if they were to decide, if they were going to rebuild, who stays?
If they were going to rebuild,
nobody.
Man, Io and Kobe probably. I'll probably toss Pat a qualifying offer and see if he takes that. Again, he's coming off injury himself that does not.
I'd like to toss Pat out the front door.
A lot of people A lot of people would. A lot of people would, and I can't be mad at him for that. He's been like maddeningly consistent in terms of he's going to give you 8 or 9 points, 3 or 4 rebounds, maybe a block, maybe assist, maybe a steal.
You're gonna miss
but
a dunk.
Yeah, he just has not impacted the game the way that you would hope that he would have when they drafted him. And again, some of that is circumstance, but I think a lot of that has to fall on the player, man. Like you either are or you aren't, and that's not to make it seem as if it's easy to come into a situation where, you go from being maybe the third option when he first got here, when Vooch and Zach were in town, maybe third, fourth option because Larry was here too at some point. But then, you move back in the pecking order when DeMar's here and Lonzo's here, you know what I mean? So the circumstances around him change, but because he's just kind of stayed flat in his development, it's easy to fall out of love with the pick, So I don't know what's going to happen this summer. You asked me what I would do if I was a GM. I would have been trying to make changes before this upcoming summer. Like I'm talking like maybe last trade deadline, and seeing if you can rip this thing apart enough where you may not like outwardly tank, but you're bad enough to maybe be in the running for a Cooper Flag in 2025. You know what I mean? Where you can kind of get one of these guys who are supposed to be a generational talent. Then you have something to actually build around. Like as well as Kobe, White, and Aldo Sumu have played, neither one of them, in my opinion, are a guy that you build around. They're two guys that you can build with, which, there's something to be said for that too. There's nothing wrong with that, especially how we just talked about where we thought Kobe was and Io was in their development. But I don't know, man. This front office just moves 2-3 steps too slow.
Because you would have, I thought at some point that they would have decided to try to trade DeMar, but now they want to bring him back. And
they do.
And I said, okay, if you're DeMar, do you want to come back just because you like kind of being the man, like you don't want to win? Because it's not happening here. But you'll be you're the what is it, king of the fourth? You're the go-to. You're all this. So is that why you would want to stay here? Because otherwise, I don't understand. Because you can still love these guys that are on a different team. You guys, everyone has phones, so I don't understand why he'd even want to stay.
Yeah, I mean, money talks, and I think the Bulls can offer him the most. I think he'd be eligible for a 3-year, $130 million deal. I think before unrestricted free agency hits July 1st. But again, I think DeMar enjoys kind of being the guy that they can look upon to help them out and kind of be that steadying force and a guy they can count on to give him a bucket in the clutch. But nowhere else in the league is he going to have this type of role. So I don't know how much of a factor.
Right. And win.
Yeah.
He's not going to be on a winning team and be this guy. Yeah.
He's not going to be as important to another team as he is to the Bulls,
True. True. And like you said, Kristen, it's like he likes being the man, then might be the spot for him.
So this is the Bulls next year then, and around this time next year we'll be talking about the 9th seed, eh?
Cool.
That's what you say. Okay.
I mean, that's how it's lining up. I mean, stranger things, I guess, could happen. We'll see if, for some reason, the team decides they want to take a bite at the Zach LaVine apple, or if another team like Oklahoma City or maybe the Detroit Pistons want to throw more money at Patrick Williams than the front office wants to. I mean, these are things we don't know yet what's going to happen. We can kind of predict what it's going to be, and it seems like it's good enough to bet on it happening. But if we get to that point, this kind of is where we are where we are in terms of that. It's not very encouraging. I know it's not very encouraging.
We are who we are.
Not at all.
That says it all.
Who gives you the best sound bites in the locker room?
Ooh,
Get on to
that's a
something
tough one.
on the Bulls.
That's a tough one because I think DeMar, he said it at the media session at the beginning of the year. Like sometimes he thinks of things, clever things to kind of say for questions that he thinks he's gonna get. Dalen is an interesting guy to talk to.
Really?
Yeah, he kind of a man of few words, but he's a confident kid, confident young man, and just a young guy. So he says it with his chest a lot of times. But I think maybe Kobe though. Because Kobe wears his emotions on his sleeve. I'm sure you guys have seen various clips of him laughing at questions, not in a derogatory way, but he's just like a fun-loving guy, and it's just man. He takes a lot of pride, I think, in being a good teammate and being a professional, answering tough questions, but also just kind of having that rapport with the guys and girls on the beat,
Who is it like pulling teeth?
Probably Patrick Williams. I think
I could see that. Yeah,
I can see that.
He's
Patrick Williams. He's had some moments where he really seems impassioned and he seems to speak from the heart. I was able to go down to Nashville for training camp, and he was asked questions about his role in his team and if he can take another step, and he really kind of came out of a shell in that moment and just talked about how confident he was in himself and how proud of he was in himself for what he's done to this point in his career. Not to say that, this guy was on his way to make an all-star team, but just, again, the situations he had to deal with, season-ending injury in his second year, circumstances changing in terms of his role on his team, and being able to handle all that and smile through it and play all 82 games last season. But a lot of times it feels like he's telling us what he thinks we want to hear. Kind of the cliche response. So I think Patrick is the one where it's kind of like pulling teeth. I wish I could get him like some truth serum and ask him questions and see what his responses would be like then.
He'd be like, I don't even like basketball. And we can tell.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man.
Do you cover anything besides basketball, or are you just mostly basketball?
I'm all basketball, all Bulls. That may change this season, possibly, or this I should say this fall, possibly, maybe. If Herb Howard, if you guys are familiar with him, he covers the Bears for the Bigs, does an excellent job at it. He's kind of blown up, and rightfully so, because he is very good at what he does. He knows what he's talking about, and he's just a smooth guy. So because of all the national attention that the Bears seem like they're going to be getting this fall, if they need someone to help, I'm there. But for now, it's all Bulls.
Okay. All right. It's opening day. Are you a baseball fan?
I used to be a big Sox fan.
Yeah, me too.
I see that. Grew up on.
I still am. I'm just an angry Sox fan now.
Yeah, man. No, I grew up over here on the low end, man. Like stone's throw from the ballpark. My dad was a big baseball fan, but the strike in '94 just kind of took me out. So coupled with my success of the Bulls, I just put all my eggs over there into basketball, man. I keep tabs a little bit, but I'm not invested in it like I used to be. And it sounds like I don't need to be from what I'm hearing from all Sox fans. So
it's a tough gig, brother. It's a tough gig.
I saw them boys ain't get no runs, no walks, it wasn't no hitter though, was it? They had some hits. They got about 3 or 4 hits, but big goose egg.
Oh,
Man, it's tough being a Chicago sports fan, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Bears do something. These Cubs, maybe,
no, they won't.
Nah.
They might have even lost their star pitcher, and they didn't get enough pitching. And
it's early. It's early. So we'll see what happens.
So, okay, now the Bulls have how many more games?
They have, was it 9 more games?
Not many. The torture's almost over. Because I watch them all the time. I was like, why do I keep doing this to myself as a Chicago? Let's see, they're 35 and 38.
Yeah, so they got 9 more left.
9 more. They're 1.5 ahead of Atlanta. They're 4 behind the 76ers. So they're in the 9. That's it.
They should. That shouldn't change.
I think they'll make it competitive, like AK says.
Well, I mean, they can beat Atlanta, so they'll at least. I think they'll at least get a chance to face whoever loses 7-8.
It'll be competitive. I don't know if it'll be a win, but
I wouldn't be surprised if they beat or lost to Atlanta, and I wouldn't be surprised if they beat Miami or Philadelphia and ended up getting a ticket to the playoffs to face the Celtics in the first round of the playoffs. This team is it's just like that, man. It's just like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It seems like their defense has gotten a little bad lately. Or are my eyes deceiving me?
No, your eyes are not deceiving you whatsoever. We asked Alex Caruso about this after the game Wednesday, and he just kind of chalked it up to, this is the NBA and the level of competition, the guys they have missing, and again, the young guys that are having to be put in positions that they wouldn't be otherwise because of these injuries. And they just don't, the defensive personnel is not the greatest. Obviously, we all know that Nikola Vucevic has his flaws, and there's a particular style that you have to play when he's on that back line. And a lot of times it's, them getting beat on second chance points or driving kicks that are leading to open threes. I think they give up the most threes in the league. So it's just a problem of rotation. They get put in rotation a lot, and sometimes there can be miscommunication, or guys just aren't able to recover out to their man in time, and it just leads to a lot of, like I said, a lot of wide open threes, plays at the rim. It just isn't what it was last season when they finished 5th in the league in defense.
Yeah.
Yep.
When you're sitting there with the other beat reporters, is it a friendly little area, or is it a competitive? Like, I get my story before you get your story.
No, it's friendly. It's friendly. Everybody's got their own deadlines they have to meet and angles they're trying to kind of formulate in their mind. So it's friendly. It's very much friendly. I think, a lot of us are just ready for this thing to and see if AK is going to surprise us with anything at the end of season presser, which I don't think many of us think he will. We kind of can go through a little bingo card of the things he'll hit on. At least in my mind, I'm already kind of formulating it,
I'm a creative bingo card for us, Amelia. We're going to do that. Check off everything.
All of the remain competitive. Injuries.
Yes.
Continuity. Yeah.
Fights. They had a lot of fights.
Their record in the clutch.
Right.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Most clutch wins.
That is an annoying stat.
What an annoying stat that is.
Half the time it's clutch because they got down by 15 to the Wizards or the Pistons.
Clutch. Yeah, and that's the thing too. I think, and again, I don't want to just crap over these guys because they go out there again most nights and they go out there and hoop. That Washington Wizards loss aside. They go out there and they play, but they're just a team that more often than not, they're not going to blow the opponent out again more often than not. And I wonder how much of their clutch record is just the other team kind of letting off the gas, just human nature, you know? And the NBA is a game of runs, 3-point line just kind of neutralizes so much in the game, even though the Bulls aren't the greatest 3-point shooting team. But they're just a very just mid team, man.
Yeah, very mid.
You know, they're gonna beat some of the good teams sometimes and lose to some of the terrible teams sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, man, before we let you go, man, can you tell our viewers where they can find you and your work?
Yes. So I'm not writing as much these days, but you can catch me live tweeting. You can catch me tweeting out trends or stats or whatever the case may be over on, I guess it's not called Twitter anymore, but X. I am at Look What Drew Did. So you can search for me there. Let's talk hoops, man. Let's talk Bulls.
Absolutely, man. Hey, man, it's been great having you on here. You've given some real good insight, brother.
You'll have to come
man, I
back
appreciate you guys having me, man.
Well, hey, man, look, maybe we'll have a playoff party. Maybe, hey, we'll see how long we keep the podcast going. Like if we mess around and end up playing Boston in the first round.
We'll bring you back on and talk about it.
I'm here for it. Please, let me know. I'll be here for sure.
All right, brother. You have a good night.
Good night.
All right, y'all do the same. Happy Easter to both of y'all too.
Yes, happy Easter.
Same to you, brother. Peace.
Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, that's our man Drew from the Bigs. Good stuff. Stuff. Yeah. And that was fun. It makes sense that Kobe would be the one who gives good sound bites, and Patrick Williams is the one who's like pulling teeth. That totally makes sense.
You gotta pull his teeth to play.
Yeah, exactly.
To take a basket.
Oh my God, Pat!
One of the greatest sound bites ever.
We should find that and just play it all the time. Oh my God, Pat!
It was so loud. He was so disgusted. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, Drew. That's great. Hopefully, maybe we will. Hopefully, it would be nice to be able to bring him back on because we're in the play.
We got some playoff action going on, but we'll see what happens.
He won't be back for that.
Yeah, he won't be back.
It
was nice that you joined us, Drew.
Drew had to join us for the off season.
Next season. Well, if we could put a quick shift over to some baseball. We had some baseball today. Typical Sox fashion, drop a stinker, 1-0 to the lowly Detroit Tigers. Bright spot was Garrett Crochet.
Yes, he was.
Pitched well into the sixth. Gave up, I forget his stat line, but had a good stat line. A couple of hits, 1 earned run. But the Sox couldn't hit today, so.
He did play well, and they were able to keep him in there so long, so that was good.
Yeah, which was surprising this early in the seasons for the guy to go as deep as he did. But
8 strikeouts, nice. He had 8 strikeouts tonight.
All right.
And defense, Kopech had 1 hit, 1 strikeout, 1 walk. Leon did a clean inning, and Garcia struck out 2 in his inning. So
the pitcher was on today.
Yeah. Was it Benintendi? 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts. Moncada, nothing. Luis got 1 hit. Menez, 1 hit. Vaughn, 1 hit. And a bunch of nothing after that.
Bunch of ones.
And a lot of zeros.
A bunch of ones and a bunch of zeros. I'm going to need a little bit more. I think the most disappointing out of those lines you just said was once again Moncada.
Yeah, Yeah. Yeah.
I'm really hoping to get something out of him this year, but man.
Do you want to get something out of him for trade bait, or you want to get something out of him and he stay?
I think a part of me still wants him to be the guy that we thought he was going to be. And, but there's the intelligent, reasonable part of me that knows that this is the guy that he is.
He is who we thought he was.
He is who we thought he was. I mean, who we've thought he was the past couple of years, anyways.
Right.
We got a exciting one going on in Texas. The Cubbies playing against the world champions.
Yeah, Adbert gave up that home run when they had the lead.
Yep.
Adbert. I mean, no one's perfect. Yeah, but you just want to see. The most concerning thing, though, is Justin Steele's hamstring.
That hammy.
And I need him to never field another ball again.
Not all looking the way he did, like clumsily and whatnot.
He looked like he was a little out of shape going out.
Yeah, like he was bending over and stuff. It was like, bro.
So he never needs, when he comes back, because I'm sure he'll be gone for a minute. Let's just hope it's just a strain. But
not anything too serious. Well, and it's better. At least it was a hammy and not a knee.
Because when they showed the replays, even though he grabbed his hamstring, but it also looked like one of those weird landings, non-contact knee things. So I was like,
which is the worst because that's like your season.
Yeah. So yes, it is. We're thankful that as of right now, it's a hamstring. I hope it's not. I'm not a doctor, but it didn't look like he tore it. So maybe it's just like a
he didn't. He walked off on his own power. So.
Yeah. And he didn't look like in a tremendous amount of pain.
Yeah.
Then again,
what do we know?
We don't know shit. That's the tagline. What are your season predictions? Because we didn't get a chance to do a preview. What are yours for the Sox?
Finish third or fourth. In the division.
Kansas City.
The usual. I mean, maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe they'll surprise us. But they don't usually do that. So
they surprise. It's like the Cubs. They usually surprise you when you think they're going to be good and they're bad.
Yeah, they surprise you the other way, the bad way.
Another thing, when Justin Steele got hurt, all I kept saying is that's why you needed to get another damn pitcher.
Oh yeah, I mean,
you let Jordan Montgomery sign for 1 year with Arizona. You couldn't go after him. 1 year, $25 million. You could. The Cubs are worth $5 billion. They just reported that.
I just heard that.
$5 billion.
Yeah.
And they're crying over $25 million for a player.
Yep. It's the Chicago way.
And they were saying it on the broadcast, like the Cubs don't really have, they lie and say that they have this depth, but they don't really have depth on the pitching staff. They have a bunch of people. That doesn't mean it's real depth.
Doesn't mean it's depth. They just got players.
That they got a bunch of we hope so's.
Yep. Well.
And let's see. And this, okay, they got him out.
No, yeah, they got him out at home.
Jeez.
So before we wrap, what's your prediction for the Cubs this season?
Well, they're in a pretty bad division, so I predict they could actually win it, but it won't be with a lot of it's not because they're going to win a lot of games.
They could win it with 89 wins, 88, 89 wins.
They are they have the benefit of a not that great division, and their division rivals have been hit by some injuries so far. So that's how they're gonna get in, to me. Now, maybe like if they're looking really good and they're a piece or two away, maybe during the trade deadline, that's when they'll use some of their prospects.
And the game is over.
Oh, there you see it before me. What happens? Oh, okay. I see it now.
Walk it off.
Well, let me turn from this now.
With that being said, time to hit the old dusty trail, folks. Thank everybody for joining us tonight. Again, big ups to our guy Drew from the Bigs for joining us. And we'll be back next week to in our quest for more sports punishment. It's a quest.
We'll be back with Bull Spit Plunked next week.
There we go. All right. Thank you all.
Bye.
This has been a Chicago Clubhouse Network production.